Hi, I'm Kathy Hester. Welcome to my kitchen. Today we are going to make a butter pecan vegan ice cream. And we're going to talk about a couple of different ways that we can do it. But for right now, because I'm demoing plant-based milk makers, we're going to use the Arcmira, which is similar to the Nutter in as far as its capacity. So if you have a Nutter, that would work really well. You could also blend this stuff up in your blender, and that would be fine too. So there's no one right way. We're going to make a pecan milk, and we're going to sweeten it with dates, mostly with a little bit of maple syrup for flavor. You can leave that out if you don't use maple syrup. I'm going to add some vanilla. So for the butter, this time I'm going to put in a teaspoon of Miyoko's butter that's been melted. If you don't use oil, don't do that, right? There's no reason. There is this butter vanilla emulsion, which is vegan. It is oil-free, but it is not whole food plant-based. I don't know if you guys can, let's see. So it's got some artificial flavor, cornstarch, xanthan gum, potassium sorbate, and things like that. So we're not going to, if you're going to use it, you're probably going to use about a teaspoon, so you're not going to use a lot. It's very thick, and it's a little bit, it's kind of got a buttery smell with just a hint of vanilla. So it's one of the Lorraine baking emulsions, which is different than the little flavor oils. Okay. So whenever we're using something like this that's a milk maker that has a max fill line, we're going to put our ingredients in first. So I'm going to put in 5 dates, just because these are pretty small. Probably 4 medjool dates, maybe even 3 would be plenty. Doing about 3 tablespoons of pecans. Okay. I'm going to go ahead and add this teaspoon of melted Miyoko's vegan butter, and I'm going to scrape. If I'm going to use it, I'm going to use it all up. Get it all out of here, right? Now, we could go ahead and add the vanilla and the maple syrup if we want to, or we can add it to taste later, which is what I'd like to do. So I'm going to move this to where I can see the minimum and maximum, and I'm going to fill this water up to maximum. And again, since we're doing this on a cold setting, you could totally do this in a blender. And with all the ice cream recipes, there are alternatives to using a milk maker. But it's a good way for me to show you the milk makers and what they can do as well. So if you have one, this makes it easy peasy. There's a self-cleaning cycle and things like that. I just want this to be at the room temperature setting, so I'm going to press that and see how it's blinking, and it's going to be 5 minutes. I do find this Arcmira is a little quieter than the Nutter and some of the other small milk makers. In the beginning, it does shake a little bit too, and that's okay. So let's take a look. I'm going to unplug it. And I'm going to go ahead, make sure everything's mostly blended up, and it is, and I'm going to take a taste of it. Oh, that's nice and pecan-y from the milk. So remember, I put in a teaspoon of this melted. You could have put in a teaspoon of this instead to make it oil-free. I'm going to just, I could blend it in here, but I'm just going to put maybe a tablespoon or so of maple syrup and probably about half a teaspoon of vanilla. And then I'm literally just going to mix it up with a spoon in here. Taste it again. And that's a great base. So we're going to do a mix-in of chopped toasted pecans after we spin it. So this is giving us a really good base. If you didn't want to have that extra kind of pecan-y base, or if pecans are super expensive or you don't have very many, make a vanilla ice cream. So you could use oats. We could have used like 3 tablespoons of oats, 3 tablespoons of cashews, or something in a mixture of those, or some sort of creamer like a nut pod or something like that too if you wanted to. So it's really just up to you. I happen to have some extra pecans right now, so I'm going to just go ahead and strain this mixture into my Ninja pint. Okay. And then I am going to take this spatula and just run around the edges. That's how I can really get a lot of this out. Okay, and there's actually extra, so I'm going to put it back in here for right now, and I'm going to use that as creamer. So I'm going to put this in the freezer overnight, and then we'll spin it and add our pecans. Okay, it's been over 24 hours, and now our butter pecan ice cream is ready for us to spin. So let's look at that for a minute. So I'm going to take the lid off. I've taken this one directly from the freezer. I have not let it sit out at all, and you'll notice that. I also spilled some, or it knocked it over. I didn't spill any, actually in the freezer, and that's why some of this is frozen around the edges. Just gonna knock that back in. It's not gonna hurt anything. There's a slight hump. I always err on the side of caution with this because I've heard too many stories about the blade getting misaligned. So it would, instead of just going straight like that, it'll get misaligned. And then it goes into the side of this container, and that's really bad. And even hard as a rock, right out of the freezer, this is easy to do. You guys can see that, and I'm just kind of moving it until it's kind of more level. It doesn't have to be absolutely perfect either, but just a closer proximity to level is way better than not. And I've had no etching on any of my pints, and I've been doing this the whole time. So if you're having any etching in your pints, this is what I recommend wholeheartedly. I'm also going to taste this. Oh, it's good. It's really good. So I also chopped up and toasted in a pan somewhere between 1/4 cup and 1/2 cup of pecans. We're going to put some in as an add-in, but we may also use some on the top. So we want to put this in, and I always give it a little twist to make sure it's in here good. We're going to move this lever, put this in, let go, and then it goes this way and locks, right? Okay, so now I'm going to go ahead, turn it on, and I'm going to press light ice cream. And we'll see the progression of it up here. So we're going to press this, take it off, and let's take a look and see if it needs a second spin. And from the sound of it and the looks of it, I'd say yes. So it looks a little bit snowy, yeah? So see all those little snowy parts. So that means it probably needs a little more liquid too. So we're going to add a little more milk, and we're going to put it on the respin. Shaking up my milk. So we'll put about a tablespoon or two. Sometimes they say not to respin if you are going to add a mix-in, but this isn't going to fix this. So that's why we're doing it this way. So we're just going to do a respin real quick. And the respin takes less time. Again, you can see happening up here. That's when it's hitting the liquid that we just added, that weird sound, so don't panic. I'm very excited about this one. Okay, so we're gonna do this again. Take the lid off, and it looks perfect. So let you see what I think perfect means. You can see just a little bit around the edges that still may, you know, need a little, if we just touch it, it becomes magically milky. Look at that. That's amazing. Now I want to get a little funnel here by using my spoon, and we're going to put some of these yummy toasted pecans in here. Okay, and that's about a 1/4 cup. I'm going to put the lid back on. And then we're going to use the mix-in cycle, which is right here. And can you hear the difference? It's much quieter. It's going much slower. Now, if you put something in there like bananas, fresh strawberries, it is probably going to get pureed in the mix. So I'm going to see, I haven't used whole pecans. If this gets really chopped up more than I expect, then next time I'll use whole pecans, but I won't be able to get as much of the yummy goodness in there. And another way you can do it too, because this pint was pretty full, is I could have literally emptied the pint out, mixed in these pecans, and maybe mix in like some vegan caramel, because you can't really do swirls in the Ninja Creami, but you can take everything out of the pint, put it in a bowl, and swirl it, and then serve it. If you refreeze something that you swirl like that, what's going to happen is it's going to get all mixed in again when you respin it. So let's take a look. Ooh, it looks really good. That looks really yummy to me. So we've got some nice chunks in here. Can you see that? And we could serve it with more on top. You take a bite. Oh my God. Just look at that. It's just brilliant. You get a good scoop. And there you have it. This is amazing. This is my Ninja Creami vegan butter pecan ice cream made with pecan milk, and it's amazing. I hope you enjoy it. Let me know what you think in the comments.